Well, good morning and welcome to Saturday at NADA New Orleans. I'm David Spisak with Disruptive Growth Solutions, and I have the pleasure of hanging out this morning with the one and only Alex Vedder at the one and only Cars Commerce booth. We had massive energy in this booth yesterday. This literally was like the center of innovation here in the huge convention center at New Orleans. But Alex, speaking of innovation, I have to start out with this. There was a huge announcement. I mean, even before the doors cracked open, there was a huge announcement about an acquisition that the company made of Dealer Club. And can we just touch on that and tell me from your perspective? I had a chance to talk to Joe Neiman, Brian Kramer yesterday, but from your perspective, why is that going to be so impactful for dealers, and how is it? What excites you most about the way it fits into the Cars Commerce family?
Well, David, thank you. And we're really excited to bring Dealer Club to the masses. But I'll go back before I go forward. I think everyone's familiar with Cars.com being the number one branded marketplace in the US. But I also hope you appreciate some of the differences that we do versus our peer group. And we've never run a race to the bottom. We've always put dealer branding, driving traffic to the dealer website, even ahead of lead gen, because we think promoting the participants on our platform is as important as the metrics that dealers obsess about lead gen, but building the local business community is important to our ethos. I know we're a big company and people look at us as this big company, but at the end of the day, we want to support and use tech to empower local retail. We know the dealer system's the most efficient system for transacting cars, and therefore we want to enable these dealers. And by the way, reputation has been at the center of how we've done that. Our algorithms actually reward 5-star dealerships more so than we do lowest price. And so we've always wanted to create virtue in the marketplace and not position dealers as an adversarial entity or that we're extracting some secret hidden value. It's like, no, these dealers are great operators. Consumers can rate and review dealerships as part of their selection criteria of who they want to shop and buy with. Well, introduce Dealer Club. The same problem exists in wholesale, which is dealers, are an incredible community, but there is still distrust amongst dealers when they're completing transactions. And so when Joe built a next generation wholesale platform that puts reputation at the center to remove friction and to speed transaction volume, and importantly does it with a disruptive model that returns economic advantage to the retailer as opposed to the platform, it fits identically with our ethos of enabling local commerce.
Especially I find it like you couldn't have dreamt this up. If you honestly were in a whiteboard 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago and said, team, if we somehow could come up with this, and we own the marketplace space. I mean, you are the dominant entity out there, solution for dealers, platform, with was it 27 million uniques a month, maybe 2.5 million cars. And it's a marketplace like no others. You've established your company and everybody in this company as being so dealer-centric, so dealer-focused, from taking care of their customers to taking care of them as a customer. And you just mentioned the reputation-based, how dealers are rewarded based on how well they do, how well they're rated. And incredibly, Dealer Club is very similar in that regard, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I encourage everybody to create a free account on Dealer Club. You can go to Dealer Club and enroll, and it's a transactional fee-based structure that you get paid when you sell a car successfully. And so you'll see it's very disruptive from what you're accustomed to in the traditional models. But also a quick shout out to all our AccuTrade dealers out there that are appraising cars using our tech. Soon after the integration, we'll be able to one-click publish vehicles that you're appraising that maybe you don't want to keep in inventory and you want to wholesale. You'll be able to eject those units directly into the club for wholesale. So we're building integrations between our solutions that are going to speed transaction efficiency. Dealers will get rated on the accuracy of your condition report, your ability to transfer title in a timely manner, your actual sell-through rate. So you'll see that you're rated by the buyers on a number of criteria, but over time, as you do right by representing your inventory properly, you also will be rewarded by dealers knowing that they're doing business with someone they can trust. And that's the essence of any marketplace, is knowing not only are you buying the right merchandise, but are you buying it from someone who you know you can count on to deliver the goods.
Such a natural extension, for all these years, we've had so many challenges in the wholesale side of the business. And I was mentioning on one of the panels that wholesale, we don't talk about this enough, but wholesale is unique in that it generates not just gross profit, but simultaneously net profit, either to the good or to the bad. And so dealers are constantly have been trying to figure out, how do I solve for this? How do I figure out what to do with this car? And because they've never had a great exit strategy, they oftentimes will keep a car that they know in their gut they shouldn't be keeping, but they don't have an exit. So they say, okay, I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna do my best to retail it, and then I'll figure out a wholesale, what I'm gonna do with disposition later. With Dealer Club, dealers now have not only with AccuTrade, like the greatest acquisition tool, which is obviously that's where used car profitability, used car success starts. But now they have an exit strategy, an ejection strategy, if you will, because the day they get that car, if it's not ideal inventory, which soon AccuTrade, your intelligence platform, is going to be able to tell me, I now can say, okay, now I have an exit strategy.
I think first of all, I know there's a lot of successful retailers that rely on instinct to run their stores, but we want to give them a data-driven affirmation of that instinct, and through our new inventory intelligence platform. So not only are we giving people a disposal channel, but we're giving them the predictive data of the Cars.com marketplace to predict retail success on every unit. And so when you see data that doesn't suggest that retailing this car is likely in a 30, 60-day window, having an ability to eject that car from your inventory so you can acquire different inventory and keep your turn moving is enabled through tech. So if you haven't come see us for our inventory intelligence solution, we're able to predict every car on your lot with AI to tell you exactly its propensity to retail. And now we're giving you a channel to exit that unit if the data suggests this one could be a tough buy.
You mentioned operating from our gut. We're an industry that has operated from our gut for decades. And one thing I remind clients of all the time is that the greatest companies on planet Earth, while they absolutely appreciate and in the process will say, what do you think? What do you think? They are 100% data-centric. At the end of the day, they let the technology make the decision. If I'm a dealer, I have the ability to leverage the best thing about people that work in my dealership, their experience. But now they actually have the data from the acquisition side to the management side to the exit side. And what excites you about that for your dealer community?
Well, look, I think that most dealers that we talk to are looking to create operating efficiency and leverage in the way that they operate. They want fewer tools, they want more integration, and they want to speed their operational efficiency and ultimately get operating leverage. So if you look at AccuTrade, the fact that we can accurately appraise a vehicle in minutes and put a real number on a car using data is a game changer for the consumer, the customer. Because now, rather than saying, do I really want to get a quote on my car in the service lane and wait 45 minutes? It's like, no, just give us a few minutes and we'll tell you what your car's worth right now. We're changing the customer experience using data, number one. Number two, there's a rage around CDPs and mining your own customer data. Well, what you can see in the data clearly is that in-market audiences are hard to find. Google's collecting 60% of dealers' budgets, shooting guns in the air, hoping that someone's stumbling upon a car search. Where we look at back-end data can see that someone who's sitting on Cars.com for 3 times in a week, consuming an hour's worth of content prior to purchase, the conversion potential of that in-market car shopper is 70% higher than someone searching on a generic, horizontal platform. So dealers that have CDPs now are able to ingest our first-party data and drive incrementality to their own customer equation. And so data is a huge opportunity for dealers to use to create leverage, but there's only a small subset of dealers actively doing it today, and we're excited to open that up and enable dealers to do it and use data more effectively.
I think that's such a important, a very powerful point, because the decisions, the consideration is made so high in the buyer's funnel, which is the power of the car's marketplace. By the time they get down to that search, it's not surprising that dealers do not get the ROI that they expect from their Google spend. Because by then, I've already done buyer's considerations. I've done research. I've been on the car site where you guys, what's really interesting about the car site is I can do all of that up here, which helps me to make that decision. And so it doesn't surprise me. But you mentioned something that, Alex, data is so powerful, it's also potentially a problem. There's pitfalls. And one of the things I hear from dealers more and more is, because of the heightened awareness of cybersecurity, they're starting to look at their data. They're starting to pay attention. Who's in my data? Who's grabbing my data? They've got vendors sometimes that they haven't done business with in 6 months or a year that are still grabbing data. But interestingly, we've got OEMs that are getting into data, if I'm a dealer, and then they're taking and attempting to leverage that data. From your perspective, knowing that you've been such an advocate for dealers since day one, what's your take on that?
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this up because, I get activated on this topic, David. So, to all our Dealer Inspire customers out there, please reach out to us to do an audit of your third-party tags. Because what I've seen over the last few years is the number of vendors adding weight to your websites through you requesting it. But what's unclear to me is what the data is being used for when now those third parties have access to that data. At Cars Commerce, we draw a white line in the sand and say we'll never use our customer data without their consent. But all these third-party companies that are running scripts on dealer websites are now taking that data and that audience that you spend all your hard-earned money to build, and there's not clarity as to what that data is being used for other commercial purposes. And so we're out to educate our customers on who are the players that are riding along or tagging on your coattails. And we just want you to make sure that you can ask the questions and get the legal ease as to what they're using your data for. And we can't do it for you, but we can certainly arm you with the information. And I think it's an important conversation to have, because dealers invest a lot of money to build their audience, and others are riding on that coattail, and we don't think that's right. At the very least, dealers should demand a revenue share from vendors that are using your data to power their businesses.
I know on top of the fact that you're incredibly passionate about this industry, and needless to say, incredibly passionate about the Cars Commerce and your team, you're also a dad. And it thrills me every time you bring up your kids. And we happened to be chatting yesterday as I came through the booth, and you just happened to be chatting about the fact that your son's got a basketball game and he's doing very well this year, I think as a junior, right? And I, as a dad myself, there is nothing better, more exciting than watching your kids grow and then see them grow up into becoming something great. Take the lessons, learn as much as possible, and leverage those lessons to do great things. And when you see that, I couldn't help but think of this, because you've been in this business. This is I've literally grown it like a kid. And you've got to look out now in 2025. And I have to ask, if you look at it through that lens, what makes you so proud about this organization, the people in it? And what excites you going into 2025 in terms of where this organization is now and what it's going to be able to do to positively impact dealers?
Well, thank you for that, David. The personal questions like that are rare, and so I'm stunned a little bit. But I will say that My son's got a basketball game at 2:30 today, and so I told Avop to get me out of this interview with NADA and said, no offense.
I'll take care of that.
I want to be watching my kid play, but I'll do the interview. I promise I'll be there NADA. Look, this is my family, second family. The people here work their tails off to help support local retail, and they know I do anything for them because, it comes at a great cost. Any job, running a retail store, I'm envious. That's how many dealers have their sons or daughters working with them in the business, which is more prevalent in this industry than any other. And I'm envious of your ability to have your siblings and or descendants working with you in the trenches. I don't have that yet because my kids are in college, but I try to, they know how important this is to me and how much good we're doing in the community, giving back to local. And I hope that they take that lesson away because anybody can build a big business that hurts the little guy. I think it's a lot harder to build a business that supports a local community and a local industry like we do. And that's what I hope they take away from the time that I've put into this business.
There's many things I love about the car business, many. And it makes me proud. And maybe nothing more than the fact that this is, honestly, I think the most resilient group of business people on planet Earth. This industry is one that I think is still massively underestimated by most people in terms of the impact it has in the economy and communities, sales tax and dealers that are embedded in their communities. There's so much reinvention, and every time I've been here for 45 years, and every time something was supposed to wipe us out, is going to spell the end of the auto industry. Not only are the dealers still here, they're not surviving, they're thriving. And I happen to be with one dealer who they started in 1875, Mark Normandin, out at Chrysler, no less. Store. I was with Liza Borges last night, who celebrated over 100 years in the Carter Myers organization. And also, interestingly, the S&P 500, the companies that were on there in 2000, half of them are not there anymore. They're either gone, irrelevant, or shrunk. And here, you happen to be in a company that is really so in sync, so aligned with that because you have that resilience, you have that rethinking. Every time I come here and I look up and I deal with your folks, okay, there's reinvention every year. There's rethinking every year. What can we do to better support clients? What can we do to better support our dealers so they can better support our communities? When you said think about it through that lens, in fact, you were kind enough to allow me to join you on Wall Street, where you got to, very rare, got to ring that bell for a second time, 25th anniversary. How proud does that make you looking back of the organization, the people in it, and what you have been able to do to positively impact dealers and allow them to reinvent?
Well, look, it's not lost to me that it's rare to keep growing after 25 years. So I'm grateful that we're able to maintain momentum. It was an honor to bring not only you, but a handful of our original dealer customers with us to celebrate 25 years working together. We certainly celebrate the tenure. But to your point on resilience, I won't name names, but I had another vendor call me and said that they're going to cancel their show because of the blizzard and wanted to know if I was going to follow suit. And at that point, we only had about a fifth of our team able to get to New Orleans. And my advice was, I go, that would be a terrible mistake. And he said, why? And I said, because you're going to tell retailers that you can't handle the snow? No way. These guys are going to fight their way here. And yes, I know attendance here is down a bit, but you knew that this would be a big day today because you're not going to deter retailers using the climate. We're going to figure it out. So our team all got in late last night and yesterday throughout the day, but come hell or high water, we were going to be here because, as you see, the retailer community showed up.
They did show up, and honestly, I love that you said that because honestly, if I'm sitting here in your position, any vendor, if one dealer showed up, show up. If one dealer made it, show up. I spoke to somebody, I met somebody from Kazakhstan, they flew 25 hours. I met somebody who drove from Montreal 25 hours, Tully Williams, so good to see you, Nilo. But you get people that have driven here for 25 hours, 10 hours. They came in from Nashville, Dallas, any way they could possibly get here. So, I love your sentiment, because if you think about that, it's a perfect way to end, is we need to show up every day for dealers. And one of the many things I love about the way you run an organization, about the people in your organization, is they show up every day with a singular mindset of wanting to have a positive impact on dealers. So on behalf of the dealer community that I work with, both at the California New Car Dealer Association, dealers across the country, personally, I want to thank you for the positive imprint you guys have had and what you've had, Alex, for the last 25 plus years.
We're far from done, David. Thank you very much.
Started.
Yes, they are. Thank you very much.